Introduction, and thank you CPAC for having me here today. This weekend you've heard many wonderful speeches talking about what conservatives need to do to win elections again. Now some say we need to moderate. Not me, and I bet not you either. Some say we need to do a better job of messaging to the American people. The answer is very simple. We conservatives have to get more votes than they do. And we can. Because, yes, we can. More Americans are conservative than liberal. So we have to remind the American people what it is that we stand for and why conservative principles offer the best opportunity for a better life. Let me tell you about my story. In the mid-1800s, about the same time that a young man from Springfield, Illinois, Abraham Lincoln, was being nominated as America's first Republican president, my great-great-grandmother left the East Coast and headed to the Pacific Northwest in search of a better life. She was on a covered wagon train. I grew up in Eastern Washington, where we had an orchard and fruit stand. We raised cherries and peaches and apricots and sold everything at the fruit stand. But my parents wanted a better life for me. I was the first in my family to graduate from college. I worked in our family's business, served in the state legislature, and then ran for Congress. In November, my colleagues elected me as House Republican chair. And all of this has happened by working hard for the things that I believe in and speaking from my heart the things that were on my mind. Working hard, getting ahead, that's the American dream. And while this is my family's story, this too is America's story. It's a story of freedom, of opportunity, and of new beginnings. We come together today at a very challenging time, but it's also a time of opportunity and of renewal for the Republican Party. It's a time of new beginnings. Election night? Well, election night was a very difficult one for us. We clearly have the better plan to grow the economy, but we failed to convince the voters. And our defeat, it's been a wake-up call to everyone in the party. We've heard from every corner of America new ideas as to how we can innovate, how we can expand, how we can build a 21st century Republican Party. Let me say plainly, we do not need to moderate, but we do need to modernize. Modernize our outreach to touch everyone in today's demographic, and modernize our technology to reach people where they live today. Change must be constant. It doesn't mean we have to be less conservative. We already have one liberal party in this country, and we don't need a second one. Even President Ronald Reagan said, "Freedom is the right to question and change the established way of doing things. It is the continuous revolution of the marketplace. It is the understanding that allows us to recognize shortcomings and seek solutions." He spoke these words in 1988 in Moscow to some university students. It was timely for the Russian people then, and it's a message we conservatives need to hear now. Conservatives' bedrock principle has always been individual liberty, a belief that our rights are given to us by our Creator, not the government. The rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Individual liberty, that's what drove President Abraham Lincoln and the emancipation of the slaves. It's what drove Republican Susan B. Anthony in her campaign for women's suffrage. It's what drove President Ronald Reagan in his fight for political freedom in Eastern Europe, and economic freedom, and a higher standard of living here at home. We are successful when solid conservative principles are applied to the challenges of the time. And that's what we need to do today. For too long, we've been talking like bookkeepers rather than like leaders. We've been looking down at the balance sheet instead of up to the future. We need to show that conservative principles offer the best opportunity for everyone, men and women, young people starting out and those ready to retire, for people in every race and every region of this great country. We need to be the party of the 100%. Women comprise 54% of the electorate. There were 10 million more women that voted in the presidential election. In 2012, the Democrats drummed up this phony war on women. Now, of course, our party has never waged a war on women. It was just the Democrats' politics of division. But there was a very real war for the women's vote. And we lost that war by a mile. 11% more women voted for Obama than Romney. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. Just think back. In 2010, we won the women's vote. The Republicans won the women's vote. In fact, it was women in America who fired the first woman Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And there's no reason we can't do it again in 2014, 2016, and beyond. Now, the situation was made worse in 2012 when some of our men just didn't keep their mouths shut when they should have. But stopping people from saying stupid things isn't going to solve the problem. We need to convince more women that conservative principles offer a better solution to them as well. This year, as I traveled around the country campaigning, I was privileged to meet so many amazing conservative women who were running for office and who won. We have 2 new members out of Indiana, Susan Brooks and Jackie Walorski. We have a new member out of Missouri, Ann Wagner. We have a new U.S. Senator from Nebraska, Deb Fischer. We've been successful. But we need to do more. One thing I have seen and picked up on is that you hear different questions, different concerns when you talk to men and women about getting involved in politics and running for office. For women, the number one challenge is time. How am I going to take care of my family, advance my career, be involved in the community, and be involved in politics, let alone run for office or even Congress? But I stand here and say it can be done. And more conservative women all across this country are saying it must be done. I must get involved. When I was single, getting involved in politics, I ran for the state legislature and then I ran for Congress. It wasn't until I was 36 that I finally met Mr. Wonderful, Brian Rogers, and we had 2 kids, and by far the best thing that has ever happened in my life was becoming a wife and a mom. And the most important element for me is having the incredible support of my husband. Women are concerned about family and community. In our own lives and in our own families, it's our children's safety and health, caring for our parents, living within our means. Those are our most heartfelt concerns. So when the conservative message goes beyond numbers and starts answering these family questions, we will be speaking to 100% of the people. We'll start talking to parents about school choice and how it can give their children the same opportunities as wealthy children have. We should talk about hiring and promoting teachers based on their talent, not seniority. We'll talk to construction workers about building that Keystone Pipeline, giving thousands of people a leg up, and that every state can have 3% unemployment like North Dakota. We'll talk to college students and recent grads about keeping student loan rates low and ensuring that they can get jobs after they graduate. We should talk to hourly employees about repealing outdated overtime regulations that prevent employers from offering comp time to those that want control of their own schedule. We'll talk to those with disabilities and their families about removing barriers to success so that everyone, including my son Cole, has a better chance to live the American dream. We should change the tax code so loopholes for special interest are eliminated. We can streamline, simplify the tax code, and put more money in the pockets of families. We'll talk to moms in the sandwich generation, those taking care of their parents and their children, about how we need to fund medical research and repeal the medical device tax so that we can cure diseases and give everyone a chance at a better life. We've all heard these policy issues before, but we need to start talking about these employment and family issues. That's the way we're going to reach men and women when we start speaking from our hearts as well as our heads. That's how we're going to bring about a new, modern, conservative vision to America. The second way we need to modernize is with technology. Just for a moment, let's consider two Americas. You have Washington, D.C., the center of government, and you have Silicon Valley, along with the Pacific Northwest, the center of technology innovation. If you have an iPhone, but are still using the 1040 to fill out your tax returns, you know which region has been a more successful agent of change. Technology keeps moving forward, government stagnates, hampering both growth and opportunity. So last spring, I visited Silicon Valley, and I walked away inspired by the energy, the creativity, the sky's the limit approach. I visited Microsoft, Facebook, and Apple, and each of these companies have very different cultures, but they can teach us something about modernizing as conservatives. My goal is to bring a little Silicon Valley to Capitol Hill. So that's why I'm excited to be working to make sure we use technology in effective ways. One thing I've learned from these companies and these innovators is that technology alone doesn't make great products. Great products begin with people. Eager, creative, hardworking people. Great products. And great public policy begin when you search for ways to make life better and remove the burdens that stop people from connecting. That must be our goal as conservatives. We cannot allow the Democrats to continue to define us as only rich, out of touch, old-fashioned, exclusive. What kind of party is going to win elections in the future? It's going to be the party of the 100%, one that includes all of us, men and women, every rung on that economic ladder and every bloodline. It's going to be the party that speaks with its heart as well as its head about budgets and children, about taxes and seniors. That's the conservative vision that inspired my great-great-grandparents to head west, and it's the same American dream that we seek today. I know the best party to fulfill that dream for America is the Republican Party. Today, tomorrow, and for as long as it remains true to its conservative principles. Thank you. God bless you. May God bless America.